Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has opened the three-day Judges' Conference starting today in the Northwest Province. Zondo reflecting on the changes within the judiciary over the last 30 years. He says he's noted the significant transformation since the dawn of democracy. Newzroom Afrika's reporter, Juniour Khumalo, following that opening address by the Chief Justice addressing other fellow judges. Good morning to you, Juniour. And the Chief Justice reflecting on what it describes to have been a tough period for the judiciary in the country. Tell us some of what he has had to say.
Indeed, it was a very lengthy address, opening address by the Chief Justice, where he spoke about the time it has taken to transform the judiciary. He says from the dawn of independence, it took about 10 years for there to be a female head of court, which was introduced only in 2010. Yeah. And since then, there's only been 3 that have been introduced. He says, yes, there has been a bit of transformation, but more still needs to be done. He also spoke about the independence of the judiciary, saying that there has been reports that the judiciary is captured. We know one former minister, Lindiwe Sisulu, spoke a lot about how the judiciary was biased and was captured. And the Chief Justice says in the past 4 years, he has called upon such individuals to bring forward that evidence that shows or suggests that there is a capture of the judiciary. But in those 4 years, no one has come forward with that information. And another tough time that he spoke about was in 2021, when former President Jacob Zuma was actually before the Constitutional Court. And there was a lot of pressure on the judges to basically judge a certain way. But he says they held strong and they actually sentenced him to 15 years in prison.
15 months.
15 months, actually, sorry, 15 months in prison. Let's take a listen to what he had to say about that.
Our judiciary has been tested, and each time it has come out strong. Of course, the greatest test that it was put to was in 2021, when threats were made in the media by people who did not want the Constitutional Court to make the decision that they believed was correct when a former president defied the Constitutional Court. That, for me, will remain one of the most important moments in the history of our judiciary, when our highest court was defied and threats were made against the justices of the highest court in order to try and pressurize them to make a decision that they might not have wanted to make. But they stood their ground.
Very tough words there from the Chief Justice, who has received some criticism, particularly as soon as he touches the word Jacob Zuma. And we have seen organizations even come out on the back of an interview he did with us here to suggest that the Chief Justice should not have spoken about a case that is before court, because the assumption is that it may happen that he is one of the people that would need to adjudicate and what happens in that instance. But it doesn't seem that the Chief Justice is bothered by some of this criticism. How do you think this is going to be digested in the political realm?
Indeed, we also know that he spoke about how Parliament could have played a better role in ensuring that there was no state capture. After those utterances, Parliament came out and said those utterances were silly and they were not supposed to have been made by someone who's a Chief Justice. But it appears that the Chief Justice believes that it is necessary to communicate some of these challenges that the judiciary is facing, especially with the executive and with Parliament. He even spoke about the challenges that they are facing when it comes to the lower courts. He says that some of the conditions are appalling. You have magistrates parking outside the court in the streets, he said. He said some of these magistrates park in the streets, and you will find that when they go to their cars, behind them, the suspect or the witnesses who were in that very court are actually parked behind them.
So that's a security risk.
That's a security risk for them. So he said a lot more needs to be done in that regard. But one other thing that he didn't speak about was some of the challenges that judges themselves are facing. We know that the High Court judge, Chifiwa Maumela, who was presiding on the Zondo Commission, on the Senzo Meyiwa case, has actually been suspended because of his failure to deliver judgments on time. The Chief Justice has not spoken about that. We expect that these are some of the issues, especially the challenges faced by judges, that will be discussed as the conference continues.
Yeah, and one particular instance has to do with him addressing the allegations, or at least suggestions, that the judiciary is captured. I believe that we have a soundbite to that effect. Let's perhaps listen to that as we wrap up the conversation with Juniour.
There might be allegations that the judiciary is captured because of who may be behind the training that they get. We have already been accused of being captured, but it is an accusation that we reject with the contempt it deserves. Because for 4 years, I called for everybody who had evidence that the judiciary in South Africa is captured, and nobody came with any evidence. Up to now, nobody has come with any evidence. The accusation is made by those who wish to ensure that the judiciary of South Africa is not trusted by the public, that it is looked at with suspicion because it suits their purposes.
All right, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo there, and Juniour Khumalo, I take it you will continue to monitor that conference because it is a 3-day gathering.
Indeed. Indeed, I will.
All right. Thank you very much, Juniour Khumalo, our reporter here, always watching the political space. All right.